After a thrilling Matchweek 15 of the WSL season, we're here to review it. We saw an upset at the top as Chelsea slipped to a draw against Brighton. City and Arsenal almost dropped points as they faced difficulties in their matches. And United's off-pitch mess continues to plague their on-pitch success. This is our Matchweek 15 WSL review. Alright, let's get into it. 15 match weeks down the WSL season. We're back again, of course, to review it. Harry, a very exciting weekend of WSL action. Lots of upsets across the league.
Yeah, very much so. I think this will go down as one of the game weeks of the season. Some big results as the day went on and some vital points at the bottom of the league, some surprise results at the top of the league, and an absolute humdinger to end the game week. So, yeah, a lot of action and a really good game week.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks to everyone that joined us live on stream. There's lots of people in the live chat across all three streams on Sunday, so that was fantastic to see. Let's get into the games though. We'll start with the 12:30 kickoff. Manchester United 2, Leicester City 0. This is a fairly good performance from Manchester United. They were the better team really from the off. I felt that they could have had a few more goals in the first half. There was the penalty shout that I think was definitely a penalty where it struck Sam Tierney's hand. But yeah, it was a fairly routine win. It did feel like there was a cloud over the game though, with obviously with the whole JSA situation. It felt like the mood after the game, it was a little more sombre than you'd expect for a 2-0 win. But they got the performance, they got the results. The performance was okay. That's what matters, isn't it?
Yeah, I think as you say, the result here is the focus for Manchester United. They win the game 2-0. I think there was potential for more goals for United, but I also think there was a potential that Leicester probably could have scored at least one themselves. So
yeah,
a slight let-off there for Man United. I think no Turland's definitely impacted their in front of goal.
I thought Mallard was really good. She took her goal well. She set up another one. I thought she led the line quite well. Yeah, she perhaps didn't have the box presence you would expect. And there was a few crosses that weren't really aimed at anyone because they don't have any presence in the box without Turland to head it home. But I felt Mallard led that line quite well. I think she was on the shoulder of the last defender, and that did well then to spread the pitch a bit, and it gave space for players to operate in. I get what you're saying because both the goals came sort of not against our play, but in transitional moments. So when Leicester were defending high was the first goal, and the second goal they just lost the ball, so there was space for United to exploit.
Yeah, I think that it's, as you say, I think Mallard had a very, very good game, and fair, and credit to her. I just think that Turland's on 7 or 8 goal contributions in her last 5. She's been in ridiculous form and has. I think bar Khadija Shaw, she's got the second most goals and assists in the WSL this season. So
just Mary Fowler as well.
Yeah, but a really, really good campaign for her. But as you say, I think the more important thing potentially from Man United point of view is they managed to win the game. They managed to score 2 goals with players like Turland out, without Miyazawa. It was a rotated side. That is, I think that is fair to say. As I said, there was no Miyazawa, no Turland, no Jayde Riviere either. So
yeah,
they did well to really balance the minutes here while still winning, and that's exactly what you're going to do when you're at the top. It's what Chelsea do so well. They get the results even when they're not at their best. And that's exactly what
they did this weekend.
Apart from this weekend, but that's what Man United do. And that's the thing. This game proved, obviously we'll get onto it later, but this game proved very, very important because it means they do close the gap at the top. So a really, really important game week for Man United. I think that, as you say, off the pitch stuff, they've got it did cloud the game a little bit, but on the pitch they played okay. They got the result against a Leicester side who, on their day are very, very decent, and I think they did put up a good showing here.
Yeah, as you said, I don't think Leicester were too bad, really. I think they struggled to get the ball forwards at times. They had more shots on target than Manchester United in this game, and I think that speaks volumes. Fantas Joyce had a good game in goal. I mean, admittedly, none of the shots were great efforts, but they were all saved by Tallis Joyce. And yeah, I think it was one of those games where, on another day, I think Leicester provided the upset, but they just didn't quite pack the punch in attacking area. Again, I've said this quite a few times with Leicester this season. If they had Rantala fit, if they had Noemi Mouchon fit, maybe this is a completely different game. I think that's the important thing for Leicester fans to remember is they haven't got those 2 players, and that's why they are where they are. But their performances merit being higher in the table, I think.
Yeah, I think that I said it during the game. I think next season, once they've got those players fit, McKellar's proven this season that she is a top coach. Bar Brighton this game week, they're the only side to take points off Chelsea in this game. If you play this game out 5 times, Leicester would have probably won at least one of those tries. It was that kind of game where on another day Leicester do get something from the match. So
Yeah.
I do think there's a lot to be positive for. They've just got to keep the points ticking over in the last few game weeks to make sure they stay up. And then apart from that, I think they'll be okay.
I mean, they conceded the least goals outside of the top 4 teams, and that includes this 2-0 loss here. But then they've scored the least in the league. And so that has been their problem this season. They're a very good defensive side. They've just haven't had the players in attacking areas to finish off the chances. So it's another one for Leicester where, maybe they could have got something from it, but I think they'll move on. United were clinical in attacking areas. They didn't create a whole host of chances, but they did take the chances that they did create. Let's touch on the on-pitch stuff, though. Jayde coming out on an Instagram story with a rather frustrated, I think, would be the message, downhearted. I think there was an article that came out on the Telegraph just after the game about how Manchester United were trying to move Jayde on in the January window while she was at the funeral of her brother. So that's quite bad. I mean, a lot of people were coming for Skinner over this. I find that the weird angle to take on this one. Yes, you can criticise Skinner's handling of other players, but I'm not sure where his fault lies here. Because it very much feels like it was the recruitment staff who were trying to push out the guys in upper management, not Mark Skinner. I don't think Skinner was trying to push Jayde out. He's used Jayde this season a fair bit.
Yeah.
And I mean the article which features quotes from Jayde's agent talks about how she's not played enough and how Skinner hasn't backed her enough, but she's not performed when she's been on the pitch. So Manchester United are pushing for the league, pushing to try and get to Champions League places. How are they supposed to accommodate Jayde when she's just not been at that level? And the problem this has stemmed from was really poor recruitment in years gone by that led to them signing a player who wasn't a good tactical fit, either for Manchester United in the system or for the league in general, to be fair. So I feel for Jayde because it's a horrible situation to be in, but I think to attack Skinner over it, that's more of an agenda against Skinner, I think, from a lot of people. I don't think he's at fault necessarily for this one. I think the comment talking about the Manchester United environment, you could criticise Skinner for, but I think that's more talking about the pressure of the environment and the fact that she's not played. It is going to feel like a really difficult place to be in. I think trying to move her on while she's at the funeral of her brother is obviously horrible. But again, I think that comes from upper management and Manchester United. It does look like she will get a loan move because the WSL window is still open until March, and it looks like she's going to go to Gotham. So yeah, it's one of those situations that's difficult to comment on when you don't have the full picture. Yeah. All we've got to go off is an Instagram story from Jayde, which was very vague, and a Telegraph article which doesn't have the source listed in there. So some people are saying, oh, that's United and Skinner. I don't know why United would tell the Telegraph to publish an article that directly criticises the club, but there you go. I reckon it was probably the agent because there are comments from the agent featured in it, but it's impossible to say. It's one of those. It's a really difficult situation to comment on. It's horrible for the player. It's another poor. It reflects poorly on the club again. Yeah, and I think that doesn't help.
Yeah, as you say, I don't think it falls on Skinner as a manager. His job is to do what's best for the team to go and win the league, and if that means not playing certain players, that means not playing certain players. It's the higher-ups again, and there's loads and loads of questions at the higher-ups of Man United, and it's just another poor piece of planning and behaviour. And as you say, I feel for both Jayde and Skinner in this situation because it's not nice as a player, but also I don't think it's fair on Skinner for him to be the one that gets all the blame for it because he's done a really, really good job this season, and I think that people are using the comments made about him in the past against him here when it's not. When it probably shouldn't be.
And this is the difficult thing when talking about the situation, because obviously there's been similar situations before. Ona Batia is talking about not enjoying herself at Manchester United. Irene Guerrero spoke about how she didn't enjoy being at the club. She cried in the showers of the changing rooms. And there's these sort of articles have come out over the last few years. But the difficulty is, and those fans will use that to lobby against Mark Skinner, but the difficulty is there's never any specifics. Yeah. So it's really difficult to know where that blame lies, because if he's being abusive, I would expect more players. The players at the club would have spoken up against that. Yeah. Would have made some move against that. So that's where it becomes difficult for him, because if it's just that he's demanding very high standards, as he should in a professional football, elite football environment, then it's a completely different story. So it's really difficult to comment on when I don't think anyone has the full picture.
Exactly.
So it's a difficult situation, but that is all we have to go off. So Jayde probably going to get a move to Gotham, and hopefully she thrives in that environment. Let's move on then to the next game of the day. Aston Villa 0, Everton 2. Brian Sorensen, steamrolling Army. Just keep going.
Yeah, really, really good result for Everton away at a Villa side who, again, played well. Well, I say played well. It's a really difficult one to judge because I think you give credit to Everton once again. They played very well. Individually they were superb. They had some really, really, really good games. Mielda has slotted in and looks really comfortable back in the WSL. Courtney Brosnan with another superb performance in net.
Brosnan's probably goalkeeper of the season. It wasn't for Tullis Joyce, actually.
Yeah.
I think those two are very close, though, to be fair, because Tullis Joyce has a very good defence in front of her. But Brosnan, phenomenal again in this game. Made 7 saves, didn't concede. Excellent performance. And some of them were top draw saves.
Yeah, and it's another game where I think you can sit here and go, well, if Brosnan doesn't make those saves, Everton might not get anything from the match. And that is what will be the frustrating point from Aston Villa, is that today, that I don't think anything they threw at Courtney Brosnan was going to get stopped. It was one of those days. They didn't play very well. Again, defensive problems let them down massively.
This is the difficult thing for me because I've seen a lot of criticism online of Aston Villa saying what's gone wrong this season, Arroyo's not a good tactician, all this sort of stuff. But they outplayed Everton tactically here.
Yeah.
They just were beaten by a very, very good goalkeeper in Courtney Brosnan because Villa had 7 shots on target in the game, 14 shots in total, and yet Brosnan saved everything. And then at the other end, it was individual errors that have cost them time and time again this season. That happened again in this game. I mean, the goalkeeping error for the second goal just drops the ball to Hayashi. And then, I mean, Hayashi did really well. And this is why you sometimes just say, take a shot in football.
Yeah.
Because it's a weird angle, but she just shoots. And because the Villa players are in disarray trying to scramble it after the goalkeeper's dropped it, she just puts it in the back of the net.
Yeah, it's individual errors that have cost Aston Villa so many points this season. It was an own goal that lost them the game against Chelsea. They were, again, tactically on par with Man City before a really poor pass across from a centre half, played it through to Miedemar, and that turned the game on its head. And in this game again, errors leading to goal. Just too many times this season, they have been the better side. And this isn't just under Arroyo. I think at the very start with Deport, it was exactly the same. They were the better team, but didn't get anything from the game. I think that for Villa, it's yes, they are 11th in the table, but it's about not overreacting because clearly Arroyo is playing some really nice football. She's a very, very good tactician. We've seen her do really good stuff over in the Liga F, and I think we've already seen in the few games that she's had, we've seen some really nice stuff in the WSL.
Yeah.
They're going to have to invest because I don't like to say it, but there's certain players in the squad for me who just aren't at the level anymore. These individual errors cannot keep happening.
Yeah, and the problem is that they may look like good players, but if they keep making these individual errors and they keep conceding goals, something's got to change there. It was the same with the first goal as well. Mara Mielda's effort, it was just a corner they just couldn't get out. They just couldn't clear the ball. Clearances weren't going far enough. People weren't dealing with it, and Everton did really well to recycle it because they wanted to get to the ball.
Yeah.
They had that desire. They managed to get it back into the box, and Mielda managed to score. So, yeah, it's just one of those games where Aston Villa probably had more chances than Everton, but Everton's were more clear cut. Everton's chances in this game though came from Villa errors, and that was the big difference on the day.
Yeah, and I think again credit to Everton because if they weren't in the form they are, they potentially don't get anything from it. They don't win this game. So credit to them, they're playing some really nice football. It's another big 3 points, 2 goals, clean sheet. Brian Sorensen must be in dreamland because they are flying up this table, and at this rate, there's a couple teams above them who I definitely think are going to keep dropping points this season. There's a really good chance Everton finish in a very handy position.
Well, yeah, they're up to 8th now, but they're only 3 points off 5th in the league. Obviously, Brighton dropped points this weekend, but that was expected. They did really well to get a point, as we'll touch on soon. Tottenham obviously lost as well. Again, though, difficult one for them. Liverpool won, but it means that Everton they're just closing that gap and they're creating a gap to the teams below them because they've jumped West Ham again now. They've opened up a 4-point gap to Leicester City. They're 6 points ahead of Aston Villa and crucially 10 points above the drop zone.
They're safe.
Oh, absolutely.
They're absolutely safe, and that will be the main thing. As much as everyone, I think fans and everyone and us who will sit here and we're thinking, how far can Everton get up the league? But I think if you're Brian Sorensen, he's probably sat there going, we're up, and that is all that matters because at the start of the season it did look like it was going to be close, but a really good window, some really good decisions from Sorensen as a manager, which I think you have to give him credit because he's also had some poor games himself. So and some strange moments. But overall, really good stuff. They are absolutely flying, and they've had a really good run, which has helped them slightly. But they've just got to keep the good times rolling.
Yeah, all right. Let's go on over to the next game then. Crystal Palace 0, Liverpool 1. This felt like an opportunity missed, I think, for Palace. Liverpool, obviously, with the interim manager Amber Whiteley in. Crystal Palace first game for Leif Smerud. It felt like the kind of game where they could have got something from it.
Yeah, as you say, this was always going to be a close one. Both sides recently sacking their managers. It was all to play for. I have to say I'm surprised slightly by Palace because, as you said, this was a really good opportunity to get something. But how can you expect to win a game when the manager has had one day, he's been at the club for 24 hours, and then you play the game? I don't understand that.
And I think the stupid thing is, if they kept Laura Kaminsky, I think they probably would have won this game.
Potentially so.
They tried to play a whole new system, which they had coached for one day, and unsurprisingly, they didn't win the game. And on the flip side, obviously Liverpool changed their system as well, but they looked a lot more assured of what they were doing, and obviously they did because Amber Whiteley has worked with this side.
Yeah.
She was involved with the setup for a few years. She was the assistant manager under Matt Beard. So yeah, it was interesting to see Liverpool change shape. They moved to a 4-2-3-1. I think yes, obviously they won this game, but there are still some teething issues. They took 20 shots, only 3 were on target.
Wow.
Again, that's not really on the system. That's on the players who've got to be putting more efforts on target, but. It was one of those where I think both sides looked a bit lost. Yeah. And understandably so, because they've both lost managers in the last few days. It was always going to be a bit of a confusing game. It just feels like an opportunity loss for Palace where Liverpool don't really know what they're doing, but Palace didn't either. And that was the confusing aspect of this game.
It's one of those where on another day, Liverpool could have probably scored quite a few. I mean, to have 20 shots and for only one of them to be a big chance is absolutely absurd. Yeah. But yeah, Palace, it's one of those where on one hand they got fortunate they didn't concede a few, but there's also an argument to say that because Liverpool only scored one, there was a really good opportunity for Palace to get something from this game.
And the manner in which they conceded as well, it bouncing around in the penalty area and just no one deals with it, and it's Matthews the manager's just to poke it over the line. It's criminal. Yeah, it's absolutely criminal at this level. Just got to get that out. Get that out of the penalty area. And it's just one of those for Palace. This was an opportunity for them. If they'd taken a point, there'd be a win off Aston Villa. If they'd taken 3, there'd be a point off Aston Villa. And that's the really crucial thing. At this point in the season, they need results, and they're not getting them.
Yeah.
But Smerud's got to turn that around quickly.
Yeah. And what's saying it is now or never, and that's the problem, is that they have to, they've obviously got the FA Cup quarter-final against Chelsea, which, if he comes in and wins that, he'll be hailed as a genius. Yeah. But they have to start getting points on the board.
The crucial game comes after that because they face Aston Villa at home.
Yeah. If they lose, I don't like doing this to teams, but it's as simple as if they lose that football game, they are relegated.
Well, yeah, because they'll be 6 points off anyone, and that's if Leicester lose as well.
Yeah, that they won't turn that around with 6 games to go. That just won't happen. Yeah. And that's the harsh reality of it. Smerud has got to come in and start getting his side to perform. I think for Liverpool,
that's the difficulty, isn't it? Because there's 6 games left now of this season. So what is he supposed to do? He's got the FA Cup game this Sunday, which feels like a free hit because whatever happens there, but there is the excuse of the fact they're playing Chelsea. If it's an embarrassing loss, of course there'll be question marks, but provided it's below 4, I think that's okay.
But this is why, again, it makes no sense to me because he's either going to play defensive, which means he's not going to play a system and it's not going to help them at all. They're not going to learn anything. Or he's going to try and play a system which looks to be pretty attacking and end up getting absolutely annihilated. Equally, maybe there's an opportunity to take something from Chelsea, but for Palace, they've got to start turning around. For Liverpool, I think it's as simple as there will be a lot of results like this till the end of the season. Cagey games where they have the squad quality just to get it over the line. Because I think at the end of the day, it's just Amber Whiteley is just going to get this side to the end of the season. And if they finish in the top half, credit to her or credit to Matt Beard because he's done most of the work. But yeah, they've just got to get through to the end of the season now, Liverpool.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, Liverpool, they're in an okay position. If they can, as you say, if they keep the wins ticking over, maybe they could jump Brighton and the likes. But it's one of those where it just doesn't feel like there's much left for Liverpool this season. They're not going to go down. I think they're going to struggle to be 5th when Brighton look better this week, when I think Everton are really good at the moment. So It's good. It's going to be interesting. Let's go on to our next game, though. Tottenham 1, Manchester City 2. This is the most frustrating thing with Tottenham, because in the games where they are utter rubbish, they win. And in games like this, where they actually play well, they look organised defensively, they attack, and there's support play going on, and they look sharp, and they lose. And it's the most frustrating thing this season with Tottenham. In the games they play badly, they win. In the games they play poorly, they lose.
They were so good today. They were so good against Man City, and they deserved every part of that draw. And if it was, again, same point with Man City, if it wasn't for a star-studded player scoring an absolute beauty of a goal, they'd have dropped points again in this game. But credit to Tottenham. They played superbly. They matched City for shots. They were really, really strong. They stayed. I don't understand it. I really don't. They're just so good defensively. We've watched games this season where they've been utter rubbish at the back. But this game, they were so good defensively. Yeah. They came
they kept
forward.
Khadija Shaw, the top goal scorer in the league, completely quiet.
And
then she got hooked after 65 minutes because they had to do something, Manchester City. Obviously, the opening goal, Viviane Miedema across corner into the box. And yay. That's what City doing. Cross it in and Miedema and Shaw in there, so someone's going to head it home. And it was a really good header for Miedema. Not a lot that Kopp could have done about that. Again, maybe the defenders could give her a nudge, you nudge her off balance, whatever. But it was a frustrating one to concede. They turned it around on 30 minutes with Beth England, a really well taken, a really well taken goal. However, England did miss chances in this game. She missed one on the last kick of the game as a ball into the box. Brilliant block from the defender. But that could have been 2-2. Yeah. Matilda Vinberg with a big miss as well. Ash Neville played the ball over the top. It was a fantastic ball. Ash Neville, best performance I've seen in years. Yeah. Goal line clearance to keep them in it. It was a fantastic block, that. And then obviously this ball in behind. Vinberg in on goal. Puts it just wide. It looked offside anyway, but the flag didn't go up. So, yeah, it was one of those where it felt like an opportunity for Tottenham, which they just couldn't take. And then Manchester City has a throw on the near side. Thrown to Firmino. She drives inside and just sticks it top corner. And that's the difference, really. Yeah. In the two sides at the moment, and the confidence amongst the players. Tottenham missed their chances. City took theirs. Yeah,
and I think that it's promising for Tottenham and for other. And what it shows is that the teams lower down the table, if they cut out individual errors, they can challenge any team in the league. And that's why when we talk about Villa, we say to be positive. Because if Villa cut out all their individual errors, they'll get so many more results. Here, Tottenham didn't put a foot wrong, and they nearly took a point off Man City. Would have been a phenomenal result.
It's another one where we've seen this a theme from Villaharm in that he's able to coach against top sides. Yeah. We saw them beat Arsenal last season. We saw them take the game to certain clubs last season. And in this game here against Manchester City, they did the same. They're really defensively solid. They allowed City to come onto them, and they sprung forwards when they got the ball. They only completed 165 passes in this game. Manchester City racked up 549. That is a stark contrast. 71% possession for City. But it's a really disciplined and well-coached defensive performance from Tottenham. Yeah. And I think that when they do try and play football, that's when it all goes horribly wrong. But they were really good in this game. And the goal, another mistake from Leah Alexandria as well. I think that's worth noting. She's having a really tough season. She tries to drive out with the ball, loses it to Olivia Holt. Well, she sort of panics and hesitates. It's a poor touch, and then she hesitates before getting there. So Holt gets there, and she pounces on it, and she plays it to Beth England, who, lo and behold, tucks it away. But it was just one of those games where there was something there for Tottenham to grab, and they just couldn't quite grab it.
Yeah, I think the main thing as well for Tottenham is someone has to tell that Olivia Holt has to start the next game. It is as simple as that. She comes on in this one, gets an assist, and played quite well. She has to play. She has to play the next game. It is as simple as that. Since she's come in, she hasn't started, and she's come off the bench in a few games and already has a goal and an assist. Yeah, she saved Tottenham against Palace with a beautiful free kick, and she set up Beth England here to level them up against Manchester City. Olivia Holt is an extremely good player. Put her in the 10. Stop playing two strikers. Stop putting Beth England on the right. Stop putting Marta Thomas in the team. Just play Beth England up front like they did in this game, and put Olivia Holt behind her, and Tottenham will score so many goals. It's the basics. Yeah. And again, obviously Thomas coming off here doesn't help, but 24 minutes in, Holt comes on, they put everyone in their normal positions, and they play well. Shock. Who's surprised? But Man City, at the end of the day, individual quality won Man City the game.
Well, yeah, I think Fagino really deserves some respect on her name because she caught flack at the start of the season, and I hope those same people who doubted her at the start of the campaign are changing their mind now and admitting they're wrong, because Ayoba Fagino has been utterly brilliant.
Yeah.
Especially in recent weeks. A goal and assist again today. Phenomenal.
Yeah, and again, we speak a lot about Mary Fowler and Miedemar stepping up in the absence of Shaw and Hemp, but Fagino's done exactly the same. And for Man City,
and this is why she's preferred over Chloe Kelly.
Yeah,
because they saw the potential there in Fagino, and by giving her consistent game time throughout the season, she's built it up. Because I remember that first game against Arsenal where there was glimpses of quality, but she gave away the ball too much, didn't look confident. This game is in stark contrast with that, because this game she looked confident, she carried herself well, and she looked dangerous every time she touched the ball.
Yeah, and things to be positive for City. Obviously, they're entering a March where they are going to play Chelsea 4 times in a row. Gareth Taylor, though, has said that he expects to see Hemp and Greenwood back in action by the end of March. So that's very, very exciting. And I think Alexandri's going to have to be careful, because at this rate, I think if Man City's thinking about a centre-half partnership, they'd be looking at, obviously, Knack's injured, so that doesn't help at all. But they're going to have what is...
Well, Leicester came in at centre-back today and looked really good. We know she can play that position. But Alexandria, just another error-prone performance.
Yeah.
It's inexcusable at this point.
Yeah, there's been too many now. It's at the point where we're getting to the point where we saw, like, with Mark Skinner and Ella too. Something's going to have to she's going to need to stop playing to get back to her best. She has to take a rest. She's going to have to take time just to get back to full fit, to get out of the headspace. Because at the moment, every time she plays, she makes an error, and she's got to break that rut.
Yeah, if Tottenham won this, by the way, they could have seen themselves rise up to 5th, which is nuts. But they are still 2 points off Brighton. Manchester City, they keep the points chugging along, and they would have felt that going into that 5:30 game after what they watched, they could have jumped Arsenal. At
5:45, they thought they were destined to end up at the end of the day in 3rd.
But alas. Let's move on to Brighton 2, Chelsea 2. Big drop of points for the league leaders. Let's talk about Brighton, though. Really, really well-executed performance from Vidicic's side.
Yeah, superb performance. We mentioned there how Tottenham stepped their game up against Man City. That's exactly what Brighton did against Chelsea. It's been a really, really tough run of form for Brighton. They won 5 of their first 8. They're now winning the last 6. They're 11th in the form table. The only team on worse form is Crystal Palace. Came into this game, and I think everyone, including Chelsea players, fans, whoever, looked at this game and thought, Brighton are playing so poorly, Chelsea should win this pretty easily. But Brighton raised their level. We haven't seen this level from Brighton since the early passages of the season, when they drew to Man United, when they took the game to Chelsea at Kings Meadow. This was a superb performance from Brighton. They were absolutely brilliant. They were on the front foot from minute 1. They made it really, really difficult for Chelsea. And we've seen teams do it this season. Villa have done it. Everton have done it. Difference was, to be fair, they did it for the majority of the game. They make Chelsea uncomfortable. They put the pressure on Chelsea. They make Chelsea work for it. And it does make things difficult. Chelsea don't like it. And it's a testament. Brighton's press caused Chelsea so many issues, especially early on. Really good stuff from Vidicic.
Well, that's the thing. In theory, it shouldn't come as a surprise, because Brighton are the best pressing team in the league. We've known that since the start of the season. Their downfall has come from playing out from the back. But when they don't play out from the back because they don't have the ball, it's all right. They had half the possession of Chelsea in this game. But it's what they do with that possession. It's the way they put Chelsea under pressure. But instead of trying to play out from the back, they went long. They used Hayley's physicality against Naomi Girma, and she gave the most expensive player in women's football history a very, very difficult afternoon until she was taken off after 56 minutes with a calf injury. So, yeah, it was a really well-coached performance from Brighton. Some brilliant pressing, some great defensive work, and a very deserved point for them. The game opened up with that Sunday Baltimore goal. Lauren James with a brilliant bit of an individual play, puts it into the box. It came off Sjokonuskin's head and falls to Sunday Baltimore, who struck it on the volley. Nothing Lurk could have done about that one. A brilliant effort from Baltimore. And Chelsea really should have pushed on from there. Yeah. But they didn't. And the signs in the first 15 minutes, where Brighton were the better side, continued in the rest of the first half. And at half-time, it was 2-1 Brighton. Olis Lagers, really weird angle. Hannah Hampton's got to save it. It's one of those weird ones where I think because she's just never expecting the shot from that angle. It's like if it's anywhere to the left or right, it either hits the post or Hampton. but it just slots in that corridor there that's left. And yes, Hampton should save it. I'm not excusing that, but it's a very weird goal.
I mean, I've rarely ever seen that shot, and we saw it twice in this game week, which was absolutely absurd. So, yeah, it's a really, really weird one. As you say, as a goalkeeper, you can't really gamble on expecting the left back to fire it on a shot on goal from the byline, and I think it just caught her out at the end of the day. Yeah. And it was a deserved 2-1 lead for Brighton because they played very, very well. And as you say, it felt like one of those when Chelsea went 1-0 up, you thought, well, Brighton have been the better side, but Chelsea are now 1-0 up and they'll see this game through. But it wasn't, and Brighton did very well to turn it around.
Yeah, then they came forward down the right-hand side. It was a throw-in where Baltimore and Germer both completely switched off, and it was a nice combination down the right-hand side. Ball into the box from Madison Haley, I believe. McLaughlin, sorry. Yeah, it's her and Haley linking up. Ball comes into the box. Haley dummies it, leaves it, and then it was brilliant from It was a part of a fantastic performance from Madison Haley. But yeah, nice link up on the right-hand side. Ball comes in. Haley dummies it, falls to Lasada, who finished it off really nicely.
Yeah, it's one of those where if Baltimore hadn't scored, I think it would have been one of their worst performances in a Chelsea shirt. Defensively, was really, really poor. And I think the second goal, just from any football fan, should be frustrated by it. The fact that McLaughlin's running down running down towards the byline, ready to cross it in, and Baltimore's jogging after it, and doesn't sprint towards her, doesn't try and block the cross, just does nothing. It was really lazy, if anything, and it cost Chelsea obviously because another really good dummy from Haley, and Lasada had a very nice finish to put Brighton ahead.
I find it hilarious that Sondy Baltimore somehow picked up the player of the match on Football. No idea. She did some good ball progression, but her defensive work was really poor in this game. I think the Germer and Baltimore being on the same side, when you've got Germer who isn't used to the league yet, and Baltimore who isn't really a left back, that didn't work.
No.
Bright struggled in this game as well. Lucy Bronze struggled. The problem they tried to do was have a situational back three.
Yeah.
And it's what they've wanted to do since the start of the season, and it feels like they've used this international break to finally try and bed it in. But obviously with Brighton Bronze not being there, that was quite difficult to do.
Yeah.
But they had situational back three, Baltimore pushing up, and that's why she was so aggressive, and then Carnereid holding the width. I don't think Carnereid did particularly well in that role.
No.
We know she can play there, but she just didn't really look involved in this game. And then obviously James and Nuskin operating as two midfield 10s, and then obviously the deeper line midfielders as well of Captain and Walsh, and then Beaver Jones leading the line. So you create that 3-2-4-1 shape that everyone's obsessed with in modern football. But yeah, it was one of those where Chelsea just didn't really get going. The goal comes on 61 minutes through just sheer force, really, which is how Chelsea have got a lot of their goals this season. But it was really nice play from Maggie Beaver Jones. She receives the ball, turns, and opens up so much space, that turn. She's then running a goal, gives it to Ramirez. Her effort is saved, but it falls to Lauren James, who tucks it away really nicely. But it was one of those games. Brighton defended really, really well. They pressed well. Loek had her best game, undoubtedly, in a Brighton shirt. 6 saves in this match. The amount of mistakes she's made in other games for her to then show up in this game was really, really important for Brighton, but frustrating from a Chelsea perspective. One of those games, where it just felt like Brighton played really well. Chelsea, there's been some teething issues with trying to adjust to a new tactic. Germer coming in for her debut. I understand why they did it, but Natalie Bjorn came on and Haley looked a shell of the player she was in the first hour. So, it's one of those where I think perhaps Bon Pastor got the team selection wrong on this one. But, Brighton are a really good side. And I think people forget that because of the run they've been on. But they are a really good side with a really good coach. Yeah,
if Brighton play like that, they will remain in 5th, undoubtedly. It was one of those where, again, similar to the City game, Chelsea's individual quality today won them a point, and that is key because it means they only lose 2 to United, but it's because I've seen a lot of Chelsea, because obviously people are posting it everywhere. Chelsea have dropped points. Lots of Chelsea fans are acting like, we drew, and everyone's reacting like the world ended. But when your team have only dropped points once this season, and that is a draw to Leicester, when you drop points again, it is very surprising. It is quite a big shock. And it was especially when it was against a Brighton side who have played so poorly recently. But a really good performance from Brighton. Individual quality got Chelsea a point, but it does close that gap at the top, and it just makes things a little bit more interesting because 7 points is 2 wins and a draw. 5 points though is only 1 win, and that makes things very interesting.
I think we saw a phenomenon across the top sides in this league though this weekend. In the coming back from the international break, they all looked really tired, and I can't say I'm surprised at all. You look at the England squad from the 2 games they played. Chelsea's players, 4 of them played 180 minutes across those 2 matches. So it's no surprise that those players came back and they were tired. They had players they couldn't include in the starting 11 because they were in the Sheebalees Cup. So that didn't finish till Thursday.
Yeah.
So they had, once they'd flown back, they had Saturday, which you don't train the day before a game. You do pre-match prep. There's no hard training session, anything like that. So no surprise. Chelsea players looked lethargic in this one. I think it's in that, it was the same for Arsenal, it was the same for Man City.
Yeah.
None of those sides played particularly well this week. Even United weren't incredible. So it was one of those where the top sides, because there are a lot of players, were impacted harder by the international break than others. So side, Chelsea looked tired. I think Leicester up on Wednesday should be back to service as normal for Chelsea.
Yeah, especially because I think it will be a stronger 11 than what we saw on Sunday because of, as you say, those players will be back. The likes of Myra Ramirez will be in there, and it won't be easy for Chelsea. Leicester will be another difficult test, but I think Chelsea will be hoping to get a pretty resounding result.
Yeah, indeed. But yeah, I mean, my point on the international break, the Chelsea players in the squad, only Germa and Riva Jones didn't play any international minutes. Some of them played 180, some of them played 90. A lot of them played, a fair amount.
Yeah.
For the Brighton squad, there was a handful of internationals. Paris got a few minutes. Kirby wasn't involved. That's the difference.
That was the big...
Olis Lagers, I think, played for the Netherlands, but there weren't loads of them. She wasn't at the Netherlands. So again, that is the stark difference. A team who had 2-week rest, yes, they pressed. They had a higher intensity than a team who've sent loads of players across the globe to go and play 180 minutes of football in a matter of days. Yeah,
I mean, the biggest loser, I think, was both sides, with Germa, Kirby and Lasada all coming off injured. Hopefully they're all going to be all right, especially with the likes of Germa and Kirby.
Germa, it was a re-injury of that lower calf, which is worrying because that's what's kept her out for the last 2 months. As for Kirby and Lasada, I'm not sure on their progress. I've only seen an update on Naomi Germa. So yeah, hopefully they're all right to continue the rest of the season. But Chelsea, it's a flip up here, and they are now only 5 points clear. Still invincible this season, though. I think that's the really important thing to remember. Leicester City in the midweek. That game's got to be a win. Then they've got Crystal Palace in the FA Cup. That feels like it's a really nice week to get over that Brighton result with 2 games they should be winning. Then they've got a week off before the Women's League Cup final. I think that's 6 days, really, because it's Sunday to Saturday. That 6 days will be important just to rest, actually, for the first time since we came back from the winter break.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that will be useful for the Blues. But yeah, slip up here. Let's move on to what should have been a slip up if it wasn't for West Ham completely capitulating. Arsenal 4, West Ham 3. What a crazy game of football. How are you alive, Chris? Tell me about it.
I gave up at 3-2. I had no idea what was going on. But, I mean, what a game it was. It was again, what we saw with these top sides, a really slow and sluggish start. And Amber Tisiak, who hadn't scored a WSL goal yet this season, scored a double inside 12 minutes. It was absolutely... I mean, 2 corners. Arsenal didn't deal with either of them. Really good stuff from West Ham. Set pieces, nailing it. A good header from Tisiak and then one that was bundled home, and that really set what the tempo for the game. And I think especially in that first half, West Ham were right there with Arsenal for the majority of the match, and I think credit to Rayanne Skinner and the Hammers because they really pushed Arsenal. I think Chloe Kelly's goal on half-time was really vital to the fact that Arsenal got him back in this game, because if they were 2-0 down, they were trailed by 2 goals at half-time, and then Martinez had made it 3-0 rather than 3-1 in the second half, I don't think Arsenal would have pulled it back from 3-0 down. So that, and a big goal for Kelly. Great to see her back, starting for Arsenal, scoring for Arsenal. Really big for her to get back on track and hopefully have what is going to be a really, really positive end to the season. But West Ham, how they lost this game, I will not know. Some ridiculous goals. McCabe, again, with this, I don't know what it is, with this left-back finish from the byline. Very similar to the Olis Lagers one. The Williamson header that bounced down on the line and just about crossed the line, has to be said. And then the penalty, I have no explanation for what Kirsty Smith is trying to do. Why would you catch the football in the penalty area? no idea. If no one's seen it, the cross goes in, it's flicked off her player, and as it comes to her, she should just chest it down, and instead just sticks her arms out here and just kind of just like palms it down. Why? Why would you do that?
I just don't get it at all. It's the most unnatural response to that situation. I just don't understand how that happens at the top level of the game, and it cost West Ham. Defensively, they fell apart when they conceded on 56. I mean, to then concede 3 goals in the space of 6 minutes. If my under-9s did that on Saturday, I'd be fuming. Let alone top level of the women's game. It's just West Ham completely fell apart. They set up quite well to start with.
Yeah.
They were playing that a slightly different formation, I think. It would look more like a
5-3-2.
Yeah, exactly.
And they were superb defensively. First half, really, really strong. I think that Asai Martinez were doing so well, holding that ball up and winning that aerial duel. So they could just go long and release it. Hanshaw had an interesting game. At one point, she was having a blinder, and the next minute she had an absolute shocker. I don't know what was going on there, but overall, it was really good defensively from West Ham. And in the second half, they just capitulated. I do not know what happened. When Kelly scored for half-time, I thought, right, Arsenal can't in the second half, and they'll just turn it around.
I thought the game was going to change in that moment.
Exactly. Then Shakira Martinez makes it 3-1 against the run of play. And there
was a disallowed goal as well, wasn't there? Just after the...
Oh, yeah, Arsenal's one. Yeah, Blackstenius was offside. Shock. And that was a shame, because it was such a good finish from Blackstenius. Edge of the area.
Of course.
Fires it so well into the far corner. Brilliant strike. And the flag's up. Just time that run. There were 5 or 6 offsides in there for Arsenal in this game. West Ham managing that line organisationally were absolutely superb. Second, they just capitulated, and it completely cost them, because they went from being comfortable at 3-1 to losing the game 4-3 in 6 minutes. They went from 3-1 up to 4-3 down in 6 minutes. You cannot do that at the top division. But and it's a shame, because they've been on a really good run, and they've put
3 points to West Ham would have seen them rise up to 7th in this game, and 2 points off 5th.
Exactly. I don't understand how they didn't win that football match. Arsenal, they got away with one. Definitely, they played okay. I think Chloe Kelly had a really, really good game. She had a really super fun day, and
she had a really, really fun day.
She had a great.
Can't wait to see the BBC article.
But yeah, Arsenal, it's the result. Again, we talk about the result that matters. They got the result. That's all they have to care about.
Indeed. Let's run through the league table then, because we are pushing already over the 40-minute mark. Lovely stuff. And let's run through the league table. Top of the league, Chelsea still a slip up this weekend, though, means the gap closes to only 5 points to Manchester United, sat in second. Arsenal in third, remain 3 points behind United and stay 2 points out of Manchester City, who are also victorious. In fifth, a point for Brighton keeps them there, while Liverpool's victory closes the gap to the Seagulls. In seventh, it's Tottenham Hotspur, who lost a place this weekend after losing to Man City. In eighth, Everton, another win for Brian Sorensen's rampaging Toffees. In ninth, it's West Ham, who fell apart here. And, they could have been higher in the league after this weekend. 30 goals conceded this season, though. Not good enough. 10th, it's Leicester City. Another weekend where it felt like they could have got something but didn't. 11th, Aston Villa. Another performance which merited more than it rewarded them. And top of the league, Crystal Palace. Another loss in a game where it felt like they really could have got something from the game.
It's hotting up, getting really tasty now.
It is indeed. We're into the business end of the season. Only a matter of matches to go. 7 games left in this WSL campaign. We're at the business end now. FA Cup quarterfinals next weekend. Join us live for those. We're back in the midweek as well with Chelsea versus Leicester. So, in fact, I think, and City's on as well at the same time, aren't they?
Yeah, City West Ham as well.
Awesome. So we'll be keeping across at that game while we're covering Chelsea Leicester. So join us then. Other than that, we're back this weekend. We're live on Sunday for Aston Villa Manchester City in the Women's FA Cup. And then the week after that, it's the Women's League Cup final. We're into the business end now. Very exciting stuff. That, though, does round up today's review. Thank you guys very much for watching. Get involved in the comments below. Let us know your thoughts. There'll also be another video on screen now for you to go ahead and watch. So go and give that a click if you want to see more. And, of course, subscribe if you're new to the channel. That, though, is everything from us today. Thank you guys very, very much for watching. And we'll see you next time.
See ya.